first things is I did receive this Worcester County Weekly Update, beginning of March, and I just put it in the pile just as an FYI. And Ray Farron, by the way, the local coordinator for us, he's out on paternity leave until,
Oh, good for Ray.
yeah, until the end of April. So it's just as an FYI, just for things coming up. Especially the America 250th. So I don't know if the town has any plans for that.
We can, if you're gonna fund it.
No.
Alright. Then we might have to skip that one.
Okay. Alright, because then I would have to pull in CERT to help us out. Okay.
When is that? Next summer?
Yeah. 2025.
Next year.
You have a year.
I'm still not gonna hold my breath for that, but
Okay. Alright, so that's FYI. The next thing is the SEMP. I printed out the next collection of pages. The document, by the way, is about 80 pages long. So, we're doing pretty good. We're about a third of the way through, so. And a lot of it from this point forward, a lot of it is boilerplate, so it may be easy enough to whiz right through it and get it done fairly quickly. So the first page is on national incident, and that's why I said it's boilerplate.
Which one?
Do I have that?
Page 15, yeah.
Is it on this?
No, it should be, you don't have a copy?
No.
Sorry. Not sure how I missed you.
That's okay.
That one. I might not have that yet.
You don't have it either?
Do now.
I went through a lot of ink just for you guys.
Okay.
So the first page is, the incident command system, and we've all got that down pretty much. If we ever had, back in 2008, thanks to Ron Newton, everything was like chaotic on that very first moment after the storm came in. And Ron was one of the cooler heads in the bunch, and he actually set up the chart and everything else. And so we actually used the ICS system for 2008 as part of our response. We were one of the few towns that did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, especially little towns like Petersham and some of the others, Templeton even, they sort of went by the seat of their pants trying to respond to it all.
Mhm.
But, thanks to Ron, we actually did, and I'm hoping that we can take that example and continue, so if we get, and I was at a conference and they said, disasters come through about once every 10 years. Well, we just had the pandemic, that was a medical disaster. So hopefully we won't see anything for another 10 years.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we doing this for then?
Yeah. Well, it's Murphy's Law. If you don't do it, it's gonna happen.
Something will happen, exactly.
Yeah. So, first page is probably, there's probably no comment. Okay, the second page though, right at the bottom, Emergency Operations Center. So, if you go down to Leominster, or some other place, or some other bigger town like Gardner, they have a room set up with radios and computers and monitors and whiteboards and, conference table and everything else. So that's gonna have to be on our wish list. Right now, Dennis had put, when he had looked through this, because I see some of his notes as I go through all this, he had put the DPW garage as the EOC. I don't see that as doable, do you?
I think right here.
Yeah, so we need to change it to here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not gonna, not gonna be as fancy as Gardner or Leominster or Fitchburg or anything like,
Well, this is what we have to work with.
yeah. Yeah, we'll just deal with it.
What do you mean? We have a TV. We have all sorts of stuff.
So now your job is to hang a whiteboard for us.
Have a
What
giant
does,
whiteboard in there.
that generator run? Does it run this whole building?
Yeah,
When it runs,
when it runs and it doesn't explode like it did in 2008.
So that's
You
probably
remember
why you
that?
said the
I don't.
DPW garage.
Yeah, we were, yeah,
Why?
it was
Because
running
you have
beautifully and then
generators
all of a
everywhere.
sudden,
when it actually works.
and we ended up with
I'm looking to
Boston
get it
sending us a
updated so
backup
it
generator.
comes on by itself and
So
over
then
there.
DPW should
Otherwise
be the
pumps don't
backup?
work.
Right.
The alternative.
Well, they don't have a mobile, generator to bring down. They have a couple little ones, but the fire department has a little one, but that's not gonna run the whole building.
You could use the DPW garage, but you would have to get a mobile command unit down there
Yeah,
to use as the actual.
It's a
mobile-
trailer.
yeah,
Right.
and that's my hope, is that trailer needs to be built out, and I need a few carpenters, it needs to be built out to be a mobile command center.
Yeah.
So,
So the Board of,
I'm hoping to get the CERT people involved in that, but there aren't too many carpenters in that group, so.
Would build off of what?
Build out, the cupboards, you know, you can't move that mobile trailer until, cause everything falls out of the cupboards, so start there with the simple stuff. So that kind of, it needs to be redone so that
I
we
gotcha.
can.
Inside the trailer.
Yeah, and then we need to, set up, you know, stations and things like that with plugs for radios and computers and, I think it needs to be maybe tweaked and rebuilt a little bit to create like some counter space and chairs and things like that for.
how big is that
seating.
trailer again, approximately?
Dennis got it way back 10 years ago.
How big is it,
How
approximately?
big is it?
What do you think?
20 feet maybe.
Yeah.
It's like 20 feet.
It's something you can hook on the back of the truck.
So there is down in one of the other storage trailer, the Board of Health generator, so there's a newer generator
Yeah.
available right there.
And emergency response has a generator too, but they haven't been running so long. Probably somewhere along the line, I should get somebody to come in and, there is somebody in Winchendon who'll come in and clean the generators for you and tune them up and all that stuff, so.
I mean, DPW has one we use on the road, so I mean,
So there are generators that would
options.
work out.
Yeah,
and the Board of
so,
Health
but that,
is
I
not
was gonna make that a cert, I'm gonna make that sort of a cert project, if I can, and I may need maybe the Lions, cause they're pretty good about, you know, having carpentry skills, and they've made ramps for some of the, handicapped folks in town.
Who
so.
seems to be a decent carpenter? You know, Whitney's husband.
Mm.
He did a lot of work with them on the pavilion and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get some townspeople involved. First I have to get somebody to design it. Somebody who knows what they're doing. That's not me. All right, next page, we'll move this to here. And in the event the primary EOC is deemed unusable on the switch, we'll move it to the DPW. Then as a backup,
It's probably a good idea.
okay, so we'll switch it.
you're gonna wanna be able to have something that has power, a bathroom and stuff like that, especially when you're doing something.
Yeah.
I know, and the trail is already down there too.
Right. All right, moving down the page, do you see anything? It's a lot of it from the photos. All right, the next page, EOC equipment, this is what smart boards, I would change that to whiteboard. there anything else that you think I should add to that list? And I have a bunch of radios, and I also have this, maybe you or you can come and look at it, it's in the car. It's a radio of some kind, it's a, you know, so if you can tell me what it is, I found it in the basement.
I have a feeling I'm not gonna be able to
Is
tell
it-
you.
I was gonna say, I'm
It
not,
sounds like it's gonna be
not super radio
ancient piece of
savvy.
equipment Dennis kept.
Yeah.
Yes.
Break out
But
in
it's
case of
never been,
emergency.
it's never been used, I had to open the box to figure out what it was.
Do you have his
Well, the box
handheld?
should say.
Pardon?
He's got a Tate radio. We bought them at the same time,
Oh.
handheld.
Okay, I have the handheld.
Mhm.
Chuck on the 13 says they probably aren't usable because of the age, but, you know, somebody who knows. Yeah, basically, yeah.
These
That's
work.
one reason why I asked for a corner in the other building, so that I can plug them in and
Yeah.
hook them up.
Yeah, you should have one that's exactly this,
Okay,
this same radio.
all right, with a blue button on the side,
Yeah, it says Tate on the front, T-A-I-T,
okay,
Harris Tate.
all right. I'll double check, and we'll see what we have.
But that one should, that's probably programmed to everything, right? Like ours. So you should have all the channels on that.
I mean, how many do you have of those? Like two for each guy? You have to.
I have one radio, I have a couple extras right now because I'm short, guys, but, no, one for each guy. So. But
And
we
how
have
far
the-
does it go out? Because one of the things we found in 2008 is there was any fat chance
You guys
of
are
being
one
able to
each,
hear
too.
anything
Yep.
as far
They,
as
you
Ron's
A
camp.
couple of
You
them
can
have
go-
older radios.
It-
Pine Tree,
it's,
Pinecrest.
It's depending on where you are in town,
Yeah.
Between Grants
but you can
and
go to the
then
town
I
hall,
have
it just
that
depends
radio
which
now
town
for
line,
a full more, so.
where you are as far as elevation and stuff like
That
that.
must be
Now with the
pretty
new
hard to
tower
charge
in
it.
town, it's a
New
little
tower
bit
is
better.
better.
And they are gonna be replacing some of
I know
the
you're not
They able to
gonna-
charge
equipment
pretty
on that
well
tower,
now.
so it should be
Usually not on
better
the
than
go.
that.
Yeah.
For
Um,
48 hours straight.
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
turn
I've
it
caught
on, you go on
dispatch on
medical,
that.
it's on
Pretty
for
much
30 minutes, you know, and shut off.
So.
Do we
It's
have
just the
anybody that's
extended
very
scenes
good at,
where it becomes an
the
issue, but-
testing all the
And the
radios we
Board of
do
Health
have
has
for
radios
channels?
that are battery operated, and we tested on, I think it was
Not on staff, you'd have to hire somebody to do it.
20, I did the survey.
All right.
for
Who do you
COVID.
talk to on the radios?
It would just be within 5 miles for Board of Health members.
For an
to adjust.
emergency?
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on this page? Let's move forward.
You have, portable tables.
Yes, I actually do. I think they're down in the storage room, in the storage trailer. Mhm.
That would just.
And I
make-
always carry one in my car.
I would think that you're needed to put all the stuff on, you know, so people could sit around between tables and chairs.
Mhm. All right, points of distribution, pods are centralized. All right, I did receive just recently some information, on C-pods, which basically is point of distribution. And so the only thing is says DPW as primary and Curtis Field as secondary. Does anybody have any other ideas or thoughts on where it might be better? If the school's not open, my thought is the school could just circulate, just have people coming one way and out the other. That's
This
the way
parking
the
lot's too small.
yeah, and the EDS, yeah, and it's also pretty rocky, even if you have come in one entrance and out the other, you're traveling over a lot of dirt and rocks. Because there's no paving there
Where?
at DPW,
Oh, no rocks.
Just dirt.
just dirt.
Compacted.
The emergency dispensing site, which is you know, for medications, that's in, the Board of Health, plan, emergency plan, has the school. So that was the best thought for us, so.
That's probably the best location.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll change that.
And what is that for?
If we ended up, if we had like a little catastrophe, which I don't really see, I mean, they're talking like floods and they're talking earthquake or something like that, where people are really, they're coming up short on supplies, they're coming up short on water, coming up short on, you know, home supplies, food supplies. So if we were to do a food and water distribution, then we would want some sort of system
Hmm.
for them to
They
come.
don't, that generator only runs the kitchen though, doesn't it?
We wouldn't be cooking or anything, these would be supplies just coming in from MEMA. So these would be, you know, canned goods, and, you know, where food supplies would be, you know, bottled water and canned goods,
Yeah, I was thinking lights and stuff like that.
yeah.
You know, I don't know if that suffices, that generator.
Does
Mm,
emergency
that's-
lighting only.
And the HVAC now.
Yeah.
It does it does a couple of the refrigerators. There's more than just the emergency lighting now, but it's certainly not the whole school.
Right.
It definitely has a good distribution, it's just, you're not gonna have the lighting to, you know, just thinking that as,
Well, ideally, we would, yeah,
With
they
no
have to be
power.
outdoor, 'cause ideally you would just have them drive through. You know, that's usually the thinking when it comes to pods, is to have them just drive through. So we would have, the goods on pallets or tables out there, and then, you know, the cert
Okay.
team would be pulled in to just, as they come through, somebody would hand water, somebody would hand them a bag of groceries, tuna, peanut butter, things like that. All right, so we'll make that, where do we wanna have this primary, and where do we wanna have the secondary? To get my pen.
you could do it at the DPW, because that way you have, if you're gonna do pallets, you get the loader with the forks, you can move the stuff around.
Okay,
And then you can do one big circle,
Yeah.
just lay all the pallets and drive
You have
around.
a ton more space down there than anywhere up here.
okay.
Yeah,
So we
that should
wanna-
probably be the primary location.
Okay,
And then you could probably do a secondary location and use it in the school.
yeah. Cause at least you'd have access to some storage, maybe the gym or something like that.
Yeah.
Alright. Center Elementary School is supposed to be our shelter, get it up to speed. American Red Cross keeps contacting me every once in a while about coming and doing an inspection, you know, and making recommendations. I keep telling them that we don't have one, so someday they'll believe me.
Yeah.
Anything else? Evacuation, you know, there's, again, these folks are talking earthquake, they're talking tornado, maybe, if we have plenty of time. And we know what the trajectory is. And floods. And I've looked at the flood, we do not have a high risk of flood, I think it's like 2-3%.
Mhm.
So we'll keep it in there, but we should have some sort of routes at least identified. In this one, it says evacuation routes for the community are 68 and 62. 68 is wide enough, big enough to handle traffic, but
Yeah. I mean, you have other main routes out of town that you would have to probably utilize.
yeah.
Some of the secondary roads, like, even though New Westminster's not really a secondary road, it's
No,
more of a
but
main
Old
road, but that's
Westminster-
kind of a road that you would have to use probably, maybe Elm Street, Berry Road, depending.
Yeah,
It's kind of location dependent, I think.
Mhm.
all right, secondary would be like Old Westminster,
No,
leading
probably
into
New West,
Gardner and
New
Westminster.
New Westminster, New Templeton,
New Westminster, where does that go?
into
That is-
Westminster.
Westminster.
It,
So it goes into.
Brigham Street.
It goes into Old Westminster then?
no,
No, Brigham
No.
Street turns into New
That's
Westminster
titled.
Road.
Yeah,
That's the road we're talking
right, and
about.
then you keep following that road, cause following
wouldn't
that
follow-
back road.
You wouldn't follow Old Westminster Road as an
Mm-mm.
evacuation route. You would
It's
wanna
too
follow
small.
New Westminster Road and New Westminster as an evacuation route.
yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go back on that road, because I've always thought of, coming off of Morgan, coming off of High Bridge, it's Old Westminster.
Yeah.
No, you don't want that one.
It is.
Yeah, that is, but that's not a route.
But it does connect up.
That's not a route you would force traffic if you were trying to evacuate a
Okay,
location.
so leave Old Westminster, so it's New Westminster.
Yeah.
And then you said work on Berry Road.
New Templeton Road.
In Templeton to Templeton. Okay.
I would just leave it at that, I would think. 62, 68, and then those two roads
Okay.
are really the most direct routes out of town.
New Westminster and New Templeton.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So the evacuation transportation hub, T-hub. I don't think we have any plans for that. I know at one point it was discussed at previous committees to use the MART system, the MART bus, but you only can take like, how many? 10?
Yeah, it's not very big.
So we'll have to kind of look at that one. I'll put a little star next to it, see if I can come up with something better.
The school bus company is right up the road.
Yeah, okay. So we might need a MOU with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Page 20.
All right, so Nate, you and I will need to hash that out as to how we want to word that. Okay. So the next bunch is basically, job descriptions.
That's not
When I
correct.
went through it, I didn't see anything really to talk
Select-
about.
Select board chair serves as the town administrator for the town, is responsible for providing protection of lives of property. That's just an incorrect statement and an incorrect sentence.
Where's that?
Under page 20, town administrator.
Oh,
How would you like to, that's the way it was written. I didn't change it.
By whom?
Dennis worked, it was 2019, Dennis worked with MEMA
Because
on
that's
this.
not a fact. The town
Yeah.
administrator and the select board chair are two different people with different roles and different responsibilities.
Yes.
The chair is the chief elected official in the town. But a lot of the operations in an emergency case would go to the town administrator and the different department heads.
Okay, so how would you, you're right, so how would you want to,
well, just simply put,
what are you thinking about that?
Hubbardston has a town meeting / select board form of government. The select board chair serves as the chief elected, chief executive officer for the community. The select board appoints a town administrator who is responsible for day-to-day operations and for providing for protection of lives, properties, and we can work on that outside of here.
Okay,
It'll be easy to turn that into we may need to create a subsection for the chair, because the select board chair is the only one with authority to okay emergency funds without a vote.
Up above it says emergency management needs, depending on the severity, may or may not be involved. What they're talking about here is that if the emergency manager is working with like the administration and all that, and can designate somebody below as the emergency manager, so they would be at all of the meetings and they would get the reports from the planning and logistics and, you know, resources, so they would be actually running the center while the emergency manager is working on other things, so that probably needs a little bit of wordsmithing as well. Okay. All right, very good. Page 21 is pretty nondescript. And then, yeah. Chart. A lot of the rest of them are is job description.
Yeah, it's defining. Did you see anything in the police that you
No,
want to change?
I think it's fine.
Just give everybody a chance. Page 37. 37 is this one.
Yep.
what is your thoughts on adding any of this? I believe MRC has a deployment manual. I believe, we could probably lift and plug in for CERT and MRC. But,
I don't know if would be appropriate to really give responsibilities to civic groups, faith-based organizations, and advocacy groups in a time of,
yeah, I think that would be
emergency.
negotiable. at
yeah,
the
like
time.
depend on what,
What's happening.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought. We could plug in, certain MRC could get a little more organized, but,
Cause I think what they're talking about there is like the Red Cross and things
Yeah.
like that, like, yeah, if a couple days after an emergency, if the Lions Club wanted to hand out food boxes, that's very
then
different.
they need to come to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
talk
need to
about
come and
that.
talk to the emergency man.
Yeah, there are no nonprofits or advocacy groups that would just hit the road in the case of an emergency in
Right.
our situation.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna see American Red Cross for 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the storm came in on Friday night in 2008, they showed up on Tuesday. Hello. How can we help you? I'm pretty sure we've already opened up the roads and checked on everybody, so not sure how you can help us.
So, I feel the same way about the whole bottom three.
The whole bottom half there?
No, the whole,
Look.
these three, the different
Yes.
responsibilities for, cause it's,
Yeah,
you just can't hold people responsible like that.
yeah. And I can, on certain, if they were deployed the following, you know. Okay, any other comments? I will plug all that in, changes and everything.
You could probably just take the animal control department thing out of it,
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
cause it's a regional, we have a regional agreement with Gardner.
Okay,
And
So-
then if it's a small local activity problem, the agricultural commission,
Right. So
We'll
I think you
handle
could
it.
just remove the animal
if
control
it's a small one, and
altogether.
the ag commission is updating their plan.
Okay.
And their plan says that we're gonna follow the, state guidelines
for setting up for setting up a shelter?
for animal.
For animals, large and small?
Emergency animal concerns.
Okay,
We're just gonna follow the state guidelines,
all
cause they
right,
already have a plan. They're kinda telling us what we have to do.
okay. How do you want that written then? We do have to cover the animals. You wanna, or small, okay, I'll check in with you, Kathy, and see what the, agricultural commission comes up with, and then maybe we can plug in a paragraph on
Sure.
how you can support them during an emergency.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Any other comments? All right, I'll plug these in and I'll work with Nate and then I'll bring in the next 15 or so pages.
Beautiful.
All right, the next thing is the hazard. This is the plan that's been driving me nuts. I've been working anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week on this. We didn't start any of this, did we? All right. you know, I do have a template that I'm following. And it's pretty thorough, it's pretty comprehensive. When I get done with this, it'll probably be somewhere between 50 and 70 pages long.
Okay.
So, so, the first page, I suppose I start putting numbers on these pages. The planning team, this is what was suggested. The library, the building committee, planning committee, and school committee, representatives from them. Those are there. Do you have any comments about adding or not adding them? I would like to use the library as sort of a communication, so like if there's problems, like people not having questions and looking for answers. One of the things that I would like to have is work with the library, and they're interested to set up that way they would open up, somebody would come down, they would open up, and right there in the foyer there would be material and resources and all that folks can just come and get. So because in 2008, we, again, go back to that, we didn't have any electricity, and there were a lot of questions, and we even had one selectman who showed up like 4 days after the storm and said, I didn't know where to go, I didn't know what to do. You know, so he stayed in this cold house for 4 days. It's not. So, well, I would like to have the library, and then, like I said, the library's willing to open up and even pre-disaster have available all kinds of information. But if we should have a disaster where there is no electricity, no internet, then they would be able to open up and they stick a sign out there, information available. So,
That sounds like a good place.
yeah, New Jersey's doing that. They're doing it with their libraries. So, what about building, planning, and school? We really should have school involved. Yeah.
I don't know if planning board would really be necessary or super appropriate for this.
Yeah.
This is a really long emergency.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, building would get involved with regulations, but a lot of that would be pre-disaster. You know, putting regulations in that would, there is, some regs that the state has put out regarding new builds and having, so the load, what do they call it, begins with an F. And, you know, the load comes down from, the house is connected, so the top is connected to the middle, and the middle's connected to the
Foundation.
basement, and so the load comes straight down into the ground. So it is worked for preventing tremendous damage in tornadoes, and it's worked, and it's been tested in earthquakes as well, and keeping the house reasonably intact and preventing, you know, a complete collapse of the building. So that's where the building, that's one recommendation that is coming down through MEMA. So it would be something that the building would need to look at probably, but that's pre-disaster. Let's move on to the introduction. A lot of this is just definitions that I pulled together.
Can you send us all the most recent versions of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, cause I feel like being able to go over this during our own time will
Yeah.
be infinitely more
I-
valuable than reading
I
it.
did send it out when we were supposed to have the last meeting. But I also now I'm working on updating some of the actual hazards and
Mhm.
stuff, so I'll send that out as soon as I'm done getting that. Community Lifelines is also something relatively new to being, injected into the planning, and, so we're gonna, have to do a little bit more on that as we move forward. Well, look at all that and see if there's anything that we need to do with them or develop them or any regs or anything like that we need to look at.
Good job. This has come a long way.
Yeah. I pulled a lot of this from other documents that have been done in the town, so a lot of this I just lifted and changed it a little bit and popped it in. No, I didn't see any reason to reinvent the wheel, so. When we get to risk assessment, that's, I really do wanna talk about that. Okay, that page, that's one we're gonna look at. That's what all this is all about,
Okay.
and that's what this is all about. Okay, these are a couple of charts that I just pulled off. So, they have something called an occurrence ranking, and then they have something, you know, and you take the probability and you multiply it out, and it gives you a risk priority index and a rank for your hazards. So the first step is just, first of all, identifying, and this gave a sample, but these are samples, but we can change it all, and then I can work with it from there. I came up with 10 potential hazards in the town.
Dogwood's one of them.
Me for you.
So, do you see any that we should be adding? Winter storms, forest fires.
High winds thing is particularly an issue in towns like Hubbardston.
Mm. Each
Like
one
it-
of these has a description,
Right.
and I've been going back through them because I have additional information I found. So I've been going back through each one of the hazards and adding in additional information. So, so next time you see this, the hazards will be updated, so. But I figured you could take them home and take a look at them, and if there's something you want me to add underneath the hazards as an impact or a definition or something like that. But right now, I would, instead of civil disturbance, that's not a hazard.
It could be. Like the purge. Or like.
Yeah, it could be. It would definitely be on the low end of occurrence.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want me to leave it on there?
You could leave it on there, cause it could, you just never know, it could happen.
Okay.
And then where do you take into consideration like a pandemic?
That would be
Epidemic?
epidemic. Yeah, I probably need to add that.
But my opinion on how likely that is has changed over the last half a decade.
Okay. Well, they're always talking, they're always talking about the flu.
No, we talked about new stuff.
All right, start with the civil disturbance. You want me to add that?
Yeah, you
And,
can put that on there.
okay, and possible, unlikely,
Yeah, I would put, that's the lowest one, right?
yeah,
Yes,
unlikely,
unlikely.
okay. And magnitude,
Where is the chart?
Right here, it's this one, she's trying to fill in. It's
very
right
beginning?
after the winter storms risk,
It's not in this.
risk assessment.
no, I think,
Separate.
Oh, it's separate?
It's in the,
Hazard, vulnerability, analysis.
It would probably fall under limited or negligible. Would be my guess.
here,
I got it.
okay. No, it's here. This
That
one
one.
is the one we're
the
looking at.
blue,
This one.
yeah,
All right,
unlimited.
so magnitude,
It'd have to
One or
be-
two.
It'd have to be a one, right?
I would think of one.
Cause at the bottom right, it's more than 10% of property is severely damaged. That's for the community, right?
Right.
That'd be one big protest.
Right, exactly, that's what I was thinking, one or two.
so the magnitude would be limited and, or
Negligible.
critical? Negligible, okay. And
Never seen
warning
that.
Yeah,
time,
but never 100%.
Yeah, 6 to 12 hours.
6 to 12 hours, okay. And severity,
Severity.
limited?
Oh, so, no, it's probably still negligible.
Okay. So the risk factor is low.
Yes.
And is there anything special that I should add into that column? Cause I want to bring this into the,
Characteristics and planning considerations.
Riot.
I mean, it's just something that would be, if there was something like that, we would have to use a significant amount of mutual aid
okay.
from neighboring towns and the state.
There's a major difference between civil disturbance and civil unrest.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I don't see anybody living by that
No.
street. Okay. Drought, which comes under extreme temperatures and all that stuff. Well, no. Drought, see, they're coming up with a whole different list. Drought, highly unlikely, no, that's,
It is likely,
it is likely,
every
Possible.
3 years.
possible.
I
need a
can
dr-
confirm that.
I need a drought this summer.
All right,
Yes, I'm ready for one.
Yeah.
It can drought. I'm ready.
all right,
Rain on
likely.
Tuesdays.
All right. And magnitude,
Limited.
Limited,
okay. In warning time,
24 plus.
all right. In severity,
Limited.
Limited.
limited, okay, mostly in the farmlands, right? So would you put the risk priorities low or moderate?
Low.
Oh, okay. Any
You
special
know, it
considerations?
reoccurs.
Yeah. Okay, epidemic?
Possible,
Possible.
possible, critical,
Yeah, possible, critical.
Okay,
24 plus,
Yep.
okay,
critical,
alright,
maybe medium.
Yeah.
okay, moderate. Good,
Medium.
alright. Flooding?
I think
Unlikely.
FEMA won't help you, so.
Highly likely though.
Would this
But
one
that's
be-
talking about major flooding though, right? Not just flooded roads here and there.
I'd say Lemonster was major.
Yeah.
They've gotten very limited help.
Yeah.
Okay, so possible
Yes.
Yeah, we get
Okay.
that.
and magnitude?
Limited to critical, depending
Yeah.
on the type of flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, limited.
I would say limited.
Okay. And,
Until the dam breaks, then.
That's when the other
You
one.
have
We're
any-
higher than the dam.
We don't have any dams.
It might affect the park over there, but it's
Yeah.
not gonna affect us.
Right.
Morning time.
12 to 24.
Yeah.
Okay. And severity,
Well, we'd be critical if it happened.
okay. So the risk priority would be,
Moderate.
So far, if there was anything, that's the most likely.
alright, hazardous materials,
Unlikely.
unlikely?
I don't know if it's unlikely.
I think it's
Well,
possible.
I think
Fire
it'd be
department can probably,
Possible or
think it's
likely, I
better.
would say.
I mean,
The gas station
You-
flooded.
Yeah, if you're going over here though, like this occurrence rankings, these times,
yeah,
like possible event has up to 1 to 5 years chance of occurring.
oh,
Like, I don't know.
yeah, maybe unlikely. One
Okay.
in 10.
Yeah, it could be, this probably is unlikely, I guess. Based on that rating.
it's based on, we have a railroad and we have a truck route.
Mm-hmm.
So, alright, in,
So that's what, unlikely.
okay, and the hazardous would be limited,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, and what would be the warning time?
minimal rate.
Minimum.
You're not gonna have any,
No time.
no, yeah, no
Yeah.
If
vacation
it
most
happens,
likely.
it happens.
If the
Yeah.
train, derails,
Yeah.
it's going to derail. I just keep hoping not on my property. Catastrophic, critical, would be critical, right? Or,
Be catastrophic and everything with it, if he did have a spill.
I don't know
Critical
about
to
multiple-
catastrophic.
I don't know about multiple.
Yeah, cause you don't have the
Would be-
concentration of housing and all that, so
Right.
wind
you're not
direction and everything, you're not gonna
It'd be
impact 50% of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
critical.
okay. Critical. And risk priority,
Let's hope it's low.
alright, what about, hurricane?
We've had those.
Probably likely, I would say. Likely.
The last hurricane that hit here officially was in 2012. That was about it. So it's like every 10 years.
We had the microburst that happened up on Old Westminster and stuff like that and down at the
But
barn.
that's not, was that a hurricane?
Right.
That was still, that was not a hurricane though. That last, hurricane was 20.
Well, hurricanes can bring
I mean, they can-
thunderstorms and microbursts with them, but.
Yeah, probably you could probably do unlikely, cause it's 1 to 10 years,
Right,
that's probably more
Or
accurate.
possible, go in the middle.
It usually hits as a tropical storm, so when we get to that one, we can be higher on the rating.
Okay. All right, and the magnitude,
limited,
limited.
because we're rural.
All right, and minimal, 6 to 12 hours, usually they give you 24 plus for a hurricane.
Right.
And the severity.
Limited, probably?
Probably limited.
All right, terrorism, no, I'm gonna skip that one and go to,
You don't need to have terrorism on there. I don't think we're a very high priority target for terrorism.
right, okay, and tropical storms,
Borders are open.
Tropics, well, yeah, tropical.
So tropical storm would probably, that would be
Likely at least.
likely, yeah.
okay. And magnitude,
Same, I go limited on that one.
okay, and that's 24 plus.
Yep.
And so the severity,
Be limited, right?
and where would you put the risk priority?
Moderate.
Yeah,
Okay,
The next one's a big deal around here, though. I'm very worried about it.
water pipes?
Yeah.
Do we have water pipes?
Do we
No.
Do we have water pipes anywhere?
No.
From your well to
But
your house.
according to Montechusett Regional, we do have a sewer line going up Main Street.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could probably remove water pipe.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 We do have a sewer line,
Mhm.
school sewer line.
Goes from the
down
school
Worcester
all the way
Road
to
all the way
the
down,
road.
bottom
Yeah,
of
down the road.
But we don't
I
need
just
to have that.
consider
one.
that. I
Not
always
town,
did
not
that.
Just
city,
dealt with
town
one a
sewer.
week
Not
ago,
us.
the small one.
That's not a wildland fire, my
No.
definition, that's a
No,
brush
it's not.
fire, yeah.
All right, wildfires, forest fires, they sort of lump them together, so, we can just change it to forest fires, cause that's our bigger problem. All right, so, I keep getting the word back that it's unlikely, because we have too much water in the town,
Yeah.
too many
I
soggy
don't,
swamps.
yeah, hopefully that it never proved wrong, but a true wildland fire in Hubbardston is probably never going to happen.
Okay,
We have brush fires, you know, you're typically talking a couple of acres is a pretty decent sized fire. Now, does it happen, like, 8 or so years ago in Holden, they had like close to 100-acre fire.
wow,
But even then, there was no, I don't know if there was any impact on any residential properties or commercial properties, none of it, it was just 100 acres that burned, so there isn't a real concern of loss of property. Now, is it possible? Yes, but
okay.
So unlikely.
yeah.
Unlikely?
Mhm.
Okay. Cause he just said is it possible, yeah.
Well, it's possible that it could happen, but anything's possible.
Yeah, there's nothing, there's no such thing as 0%,
Right.
yeah. Magnitude,
Limited, probably.
yeah. And warning, that would be minimal, cause if it's a fire, it's just,
Yeah.
and, severity, limited by what you're saying, probably only a couple acres.
Well, if you're talking about like the definition over on the other side of less than 10% of property, it's negligible.
Okay.
I mean, so far we haven't, I think maybe a shed or two of burns, but
Okay.
that's about it.
All right, so, winter storms.
Oh, you're adding
Yeah, I'm adding it.
Huh?
that. We already
I
have
like me.
those.
Yeah, we do.
Highly likely.
Highly likely.
Likely.
Likely or highly likely?
Oh, highly likely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Magnitude.
Negligible.
Magnitude is what?
1, negligible.
You have to remember though, in 2008, we did have one death due to the storm. It was an asthmatic and
Wow.
they had lit the, fireplace to warm up the house and the smoke got to her.
Oh,
Yeah,
So limited.
so, so limited, and then I was told negligible, Jewel. A magnitude limited or negligible? Or
Yeah, it's still
negligible?
negligible.
Okay, warning time, 24, right?
Yeah.
And severity,
probably still negligible, I'd say.
yeah, you get that once in a while ice storm.
We have them like all the time, so it's not like it's really a big change usually when we get a decent sized snowstorm.
So, how about we put limited,
Yeah,
cause it,
that's fine.
cause it does tax the DPW.
And you guys?
Moderate
Yeah.
for risk of priority.
Sure.
Alright, tornadoes is low, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Earthquakes is low, so we can skip that. Extreme temperatures,
Moderate.
that's moderate. That's moderate for risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, as far, yeah, cause one extreme to the other, I'm thinking hot, doesn't really usually get super hot. But it gets super cold, I guess, sometimes.
Minus 20,
Mm.
3 years ago. I think it was 3. Minus 20 is pretty cold.
Yes, it is.
That's when you
And I'm
say
sure the
bring your dog
standards
in.
for extreme are lower than we
Even if
would
it's the
think
same
they are
color.
Yeah.
off the cuff.
Okay. Yeah, I remember minus 40 hitting Indiana when I was living there, and they said, bring your dog in. That includes the Saint Bernard. It's too cold for even the Saint Bernard. All right, extreme is probably likely,
Yes.
frequency is likely,
Mm-hmm.
and magnitude is limited.
Yeah.
And we do get warning 24 plus. And then severity is limited.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you.
Well, the elderly
Okay,
are
right.
great,
You could
elderly
do
and the
credit.
babies.
You could
Minus 20.
probably,
It's not heated.
No.
you're not gonna have usually any property damage really,
Right,
but I would say critical.
critical, okay.
Yeah, you.
Because of the
just-
elderly.
Yeah, just taking out the fact of the property altogether, you take that out of the consideration, but,
And they're very young, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the risk priority is moderate. Probably.
All right, the last one, the last couple are high winds and thunderstorms.
Well, don't they come under your tropical storms?
Okay.
Or just storms in general?
I'm
Storms
thinking
and
about budgets, I wasn't listening.
Okay, put it under storms instead of heat.
I'm gonna
We
figure this
already
out.
did.
Okay. Perfect. that was there's a more complicated
Nah.
hazard vulnerability, just kind of look at it.
Sure.
It's got some extra stuff in it, and if you see things like, do you wanna add in, technological stuff like electrical failures or, you know, and then, other human events, are there any that you want? So just kinda look it over. These are just some of the things that come across my desk. So it's very, very detailed, but if there's things that you think we should take a look at, then, you know, bring it back. So the only other piece of homework is to, take a look at the descriptions. And is there one that I should be adding? Any hazard that I should be adding? I have found some additional information for like descriptions, adding in the description, but I haven't really found any additional information for additional impacts. So if you can kind of zero in on the impacts that are listed, and then if there's something that you think I should add, you know, sometime, drop me a line and I'll pop it in.
Okay.
So the next time we want to meet, will be when? April, yeah, get the phone
Before
out.
the 19th, or after or in May.
I do, yeah. I have a conference next week, and I have another conference on,
What kind of conference?
preparedness summit. It's virtual.
Oh, okay, I was
So
gonna
it's
say,
free.
there's no more gas or.
No. I actually pulled the registration fee out of the MRC budget. Thank goodness.
Are we looking at a Tuesday? Is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah,
Tuesdays at 1 work for me.
Same. So we're looking at April?
yeah. There's the second, potential second meeting in April, I actually have a class, and that's ICS 400.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you wanna propose a date,
So first week, in a couple of weeks, you wanna meet in a couple of weeks?
the second,
Second Tuesday?
April 2nd, or the second Tuesday?
Second Tuesday.
The 9th.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Go on the calendar.
All right,
Sounds good.
all right. Thank you very much. Can I get you out in an
Thank you.
hour?
Just
Get
a
you out in
phone,
an
yeah.
hour.
Do you
Okay.
want this page?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm missing this page from you.
No, you're not.
Great, thank you.